Hey, everybody, it's Rachel Augusta, and I work with animals who are sick, injured, diseased, or been abused. And today I'm going to be having a conversation with Julie Saillant, and I am so excited for you to get to know her as much as I have because she's just super fun, super smart, down to earth. She's like one of my soul sisters. She is a certified life coach, optimization coach, intuitive empath, and light worker, speaker, writer, equine communicator, and creator of themotivationaddict.com. Hello, Julie.
Hey, Rachel. Thanks for having me. I love talking with you at all times.
Me too. Is this our fourth time?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, third or
And we
fourth
met in
time.
person and it's just been awesome. You're my sister. I don't know any other way to say it. You're just my person.
I know. We met at a summit in Florida and we magnetically came together because we both love animals. And that kind of is a little bit about our topic today, is heart energy. And you know a lot about heart energy. And I think people have really underestimated the heart for a long time. You know, I mean, obviously, it's like it's our heart, it's the thing that keeps us alive. But we always think of it as like it's the physical thing that keeps us alive. But some people don't really think of it as like it's the emotional thing that keeps us alive. And
Yeah.
I actually just heard, I don't remember who said this, but there's some sort of scientific study that's coming out where they're saying the heart is like a second brain.
The heart is actually more than the brain could ever be. The heart I belong to the heart math.
Hold on, that's a quote. I need to turn that into a t-shirt quote.
That's a good idea. I should
Okay,
write this
keep going,
down.
keep going.
That's a good idea. And if I look aside, I wrote a little something that Rachel's going to put up, and forgive me, but I just want to make sure I get this right. So let me put these on. I belong to the Heart Math Institute, and for a nominal fee, they do all these amazing, wonderful. They give information on the heart and how the heart basically runs the show. We always think it's the brain, but just so that everyone knows, the heart's electrical field is 60 times greater in amplitude than the electrical activity generated by the brain. And listen to this, the magnetic field produced by the heart is more than 100 times greater in strength than the field generated by the brain and can be detected up to 3 feet away from the body in all directions. So when you think about your human friends or your four-legged or two-legged friends, they feel all of that. So things like quotes like "I'm heartbroken," that's a real thing. I'm sure that Rachel, of older people, and then when one goes, the other one goes because they're
Totally.
heartbroken.
Totally.
And so what researchers are finding out is that the heart really runs everything. I mean, we know if our heart stops, then like you gave me a heart attack, everything stops, and that's literal as well. But the heart is an amazing organ, and it stores all of your emotions and information just like your brain, but only more so. It's
It
crazy good.
stores. Okay, so a lot of what you say, like our work is very similar and then it's different.
Yes.
We do a lot of the same things and then we don't, and we have different approaches. And I know a lot about the heart and the electromagnetic field around the heart, but I've never heard that the heart stores information.
Stores information, yes.
Wow.
Information. Yep. Yep.
Like,
Memories.
that's amazing. So I'm curious. I mean, my brain's going a
Your brain just
mile a
went.
minute. Yeah, yeah. You mind blew me. So I'm like, hold on a second. Where's my bottle of wine? And sit and contemplate. So it stores information kind of like the subconscious brain.
Absolutely.
Wow.
So when you reach into your intuition or your higher self, you're accessing your heart, because your heart is so much larger in terms of what it can store and remember than your brain. And the output is so much bigger in so many ways. So is it any wonder that if you're bumping up against somebody at work and you're not like, ooh, that's kind of a yucky, what are they putting out in their heart field? What unconsciously do we have? Because we're always vibrating at a level, as you know, right? Everybody knows we're energy and we're vibrating.
Right.
Whatever we're putting out there is all related back to your heart. And that's pretty much where a lot of their research has shown lately that's why they're focusing on it, the Heart Math Institute, because it runs everything.
There's so much we don't know. It's
Yeah.
crazy. So like, I know that, yeah, we're made up of energy, and we have an energy body as humans that is about 4 to 6 feet. It can be larger, it can be smaller. It just really depends on the person. A dog is 10 times bigger than ours. Their energy body is 10 times bigger than ours. A cat's is even bigger. It goes out to like, can be a whole city block. A horse's is like the whole size of an arena. That's their energy body. And when you get that like initial like feeling, like, I mean, we've all experienced where it's like you maybe need to go into, let's say, a classroom or a door or a meeting room, but you get this weird feeling. You're bumping into somebody else's energy field that you just aren't necessarily jiving with. And this is
Yes.
how animals will respond to us as well. You know this from working with horses, and we can talk about that in a second. Like, horses really are picking up on how you feel. They know.
Absolutely.
Dogs do, cats do, and they tend not to like people. I don't want to say they feel uncomfortable
Yes.
around people who have some stuff going on, and that's the heart. Basically, the signals the heart is sending out around the energy field.
Yes, into the electromagnetic field, which then you're bumping up against, they're bumping up against. This is how and then they're reacting. So if you've got so much negative stuff going on and they're reacting to you negatively because they're either running away, because they'll either, as you know, they'll either run away or they'll try to help you. And it just depends on also where they are during that time, because they have moods and energies just like we do, as you know.
Totally.
I'm sure your listeners know that. And so they're going to have days where they're like, yeah, I can deal with this, like you. So, sometimes like an energy battery. I always think about an energy battery. So yesterday I was at like 20%. I couldn't deal with anything because I was overtired and grumpy. Today I'm much, much better. So if I'm at 90%, then I can deal with somebody's yucky energy and move through it or past it or help them. But if you're lower than that and you're at 25%, and you're just maybe overtired, right? That stuff, that yucky stuff that they're putting out there, your animal will just either move away from, and sometimes as owners, that's like, hey, what's going on here? Yeah, but then reflect back and think, how did your day go? What's bothering you? What are you thinking about? Are you really there with them? Are you present? Are you being mindful? Or are you like most of us who, I'm here with you, but thinking about the 50 things I have to do?
Yeah. Yeah. As I hear you talk, and as we're, just talking about this, it makes me think a lot about, in a way, our systems were like a really complex, like, computer board.
Yeah.
And so it's not just one thing that makes it work. It's a lot of things. It's a lot of wires. It's a lot of components and pieces. And with animals, like, we know that animals can see what we're thinking because they're telepathic. We know that animals can smell our emotions, but we also know that they can, like, feel us. And so it's like all of this is happening. It's not just that, oh, the way you behave, your animal is seeing, and they know that by the way you're behaving, you're angry, or by the way you're behaving, you're sad. They can see it telepathically. They can smell it with the neuron receptors in their brain. They can feel it with their heart field and your heart field. And so you have all of this going on. It's like they're interpreting all of this, and we are with each other. We're interpreting all this stuff around us that we're just not even aware of that's happening, because we don't need to think about it. Like, we don't need to think about how to walk. It's just happening around us. And you brought up something that I want to just mention, is that it's really, oh God, it's just amazing. Like, the more you think about this, but like, animals, sometimes they want to support you, and then sometimes they don't necessarily have the capacity to. But then the other side is that, like, I know when I've worked with animals who maybe have a lot of trauma or something, they don't want to necessarily, I was trained actually to not go in with a lot of pity, that having that sort of pity can be really hard on them, and that it's going to make them not want to heal. And I'm just sitting here thinking, oh, this is probably also why. Like, it's not just because they can see it in your head and they can smell it, but your heart energy changes, and it goes from a place of openness to one of pity.
Right.
Have you
And
experienced
that,
that as well?
yes, yes,
Or
and
recently?
that does not serve them. It does
Right.
not serve you, and it does not serve them. And as much as that's a human response, and we feel bad, I'm one of those people. I'm always feeling bad about something I see, and then I realize that they told me this does not serve me. It does not help us in any way, shape, or form. So you need to switch out of that. Then either help me or try to, or we need to reconvene later. And so a lot of times maybe that's why, if we're shutting down, and a lot of it's unconscious, as you said, it's happening in the background. And on the front side, it doesn't look like there's much going on. Maybe you had a bad day and you come in and then they run away, or they try to help you, but there's so much more going on where they're getting what your thoughts are,
Mm-hmm.
and they're getting the pictures, and back and forth. You can see theirs, they can see yours, depending on what wavelength you're on. But they're also, depending on what you switch into, what wavelength, and then what feeling you have, will keep you open or closed. And that's all based around the heart. And so the capacity is huge for understanding and opportunity, but it's also huge to understand why sometimes they walk away and say, I can't do this right now, or you're not helping me right now.
Right. It would be like if we, had a friend who was maybe paraplegic, and we were all standing around just pitying them. That would probably be really hard on them emotionally, and also make them feel like, well, I really can't do anything then. I really can't heal. I really can't
Right,
live the life that I want to live. You're not allowing me to even go into a place of happiness. You're forcing me to stay in a place of victimhood.
right, right. And where can you heal from that? You really can't, because it doesn't bring you up high enough in your energetic vibration and your thoughts, and everything has to be in perfect mind, body, spirit alignment to really bring that healing to the forefront, just to start with, as a level playing field. I mean, that's sometimes what I'm sure you have to do. You have to get them to that point to accept what you're trying to give them, and that health and that thought process, and bring them out of that. So I think you're probably unconsciously doing this quite a bit already. It's just that there's so much there that if we're pitying someone, if I feel sorry for you, I mean, that doesn't really help anybody. I mean, yeah, then what? I walk away and you're left feeling even worse, probably, right? So
Right.
it doesn't help anybody. It's a normal human thought, and it's a normal human function, but as a healer, we need to switch out of that to really go up to that next level of how can I help? That's a
Right.
totally different thought process and feeling in your heart from, oh, I feel so bad for them,
Oh God.
right?
Okay. So I'm so glad you said this, actually, because I want to say, like you said, as a healer, but we are all healers. And in my, the women who are listening to this, I'm calling them to up level, to, know that, to empower them to know that they can totally help their animals who are sick. And it's important for them to hear that with them, even with them as well. Like, a lot of times when someone's sick, then we go into that place of, oh no, and pity and shame and guilt and all this stuff, instead of saying, this is what's going on, and approaching it in a different place. It's easier said than done, but that's definitely what we have to do.
Right. And it's almost, in a way, it's almost the opposite of what you would normally do, right? It's counterintuitive, because normally you go into it with so much emotion. Your emotions bring you to a place of, oh my gosh, this is awful, and oh no. And then you go down that rabbit hole of, oh boy, what's going to happen now? So instead of that, if we can flip it and switch to, I'm a divine being. I know I can help this animal. And even if I don't have the training, we're all healers. We can all help each other. We're all connected. And let me put that perfect visualization and thought in my head of this animal in perfect condition. And at least that's such a good starting place
Right.
to get them on the road.
Right. Well, and I think
Right?
too, yeah, exactly. And, and the other thing too is like just thinking of your heart has a brain. I mean, even just sitting and imagining, like, my heart is registering everything. How can I make my heart very happy?
Right.
And, and what do you recommend for stuff like that? Like, I mean, when you heard this or with what you do, let's say you're working with a horse and you're feeling maybe really sad that day, but you have to work with this horse. What would you
Mhm.
what would you do for your heart?
You have to raise your vibration. So I would say create a ritual. I have a ritual that I do, and I have an essential oil, and I spray my field so that it's clear.
Mhm.
And then I go in and clear all my chakras. And it sounds like a lot of work. I can literally do this in about a minute and a half. It's literally like a little oil, a little spray, and then
What essential oil do you use?
um, I have to grab it, but I can give you a link to
Is
it.
it like clary sage,
It's like
or
yeah, something like that.
it's got a cleaner in it?
Yeah,
An aura
yeah,
cleaner? Okay. Yeah.
yeah. Because I have to clean my field
Mm-hmm.
first of all the junk. And then what I'm trying to do is clear all my chakras because I want to be in that perfect body, mind, spirit alignment. I want to be as aligned. And then I'm thinking, how can I serve? How can I help? What's the highest level of love and service and unity, and what can I do? Get me to the tippy top. Don't get me to the halfway point. I want to go as full on, and just what I do is I think of my power, like you were saying, city blocks. I think of my power going out as far and wide as I possibly can. Even like I think the planet, because I've worked with people that have taught me, you start with your house, you start in your room, then you go to your house, then you go to your block. I think of it going all over like beams of light all over the planet. And it sounds like a lot, but once you start doing this on a regular basis, it's so easy and it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't take long at all. I'm sure you have rituals like this too, Rachel. And then that brings me to a place of I'm ready. Like I'm ready, I'm here, and I'm fully amped up, and I can do this right now. Like just talking through that with you, I just did it in like my mind. It was like just cleans everything out. It's awesome.
Yeah. And that's one thing I learned a long time ago is where intention goes, energy flows. And
Absolutely.
that takes some of the pressure off because people might be listening to this being like, I don't know. I'm not a witch.
Yeah.
Or I don't know. I don't know. And it's
Yeah.
like where intention goes, energy flows. And so even just like seeing light expand from you and through your house is going to trigger that.
Yep. From your body all the way out as far as you possibly can. Like cast your net wide.
Mm-hmm.
Because you have so much power within you, but some people just don't even realize A, that they have power, and B, if they do, they don't know what to do with it. But there's so much you can do with all that good stuff that's inside of you. And especially if you love animals, which I'm sure everyone on your podcast talks, they love animals and our friends. And there's so much healing that you can do at home if you just keep that intention. Like you were saying, intention's everything.
Mm-hmm. So let me ask you this. You were primarily with horses.
Yes.
And have you seen or experienced, or what are your thoughts that maybe people focus too much on the physical healing and not necessarily the heart?
So glad you asked that. So glad you asked that. In the culture of equestrians, it's always about, if I say this, Rachel, how's your cat today? How's Sugar Pants? What would you say to me?
Say she's real feisty. I would say she is very happy, but a little annoyed because we didn't go on a walk in her stroller this morning.
So that's all emotional.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how I would answer you if you asked me about any of my animals. I'm on the emotional level all the time. That's where I live. That's where you live. Most people, equestrians specifically, are on the physical level. If I say, how was your ride? They'll say, well, he was a little bit tense on the corner, and I think that his feet could be a little off. I'm not sure. We might have to look at his tendons too, a little tight there. There's nothing about this part or this part, the emotions. How does your horse feel today inside? How did your
Wow.
horse respond to you when you first went up to his stall? Did he put his ears back? Was he happy to see you? What's going on today with him internally? And so what I do is I'm trying to be that bridge and give them the information. A lot of it's emotional because it's all connected.
So
So
connected. That's a profound, like, that's that's some wisdom right there. I mean, like, everybody listening, I want you to just take a second, like, breathe for a second, because when you were saying that, I was like, wow, that is something, that's the way we describe older sick people as well. Like, if you were to ask me, like, how's my dad? I'm not going to be, because he's 87, he's having some heart problems. I'm going to explain all the things, like, well, he's having a hard time walking around, he's shuffling a little bit. I wouldn't say, like, oh, he's went out for a Sunday drive with my brother, really enjoying life. We switch it and we start focusing on the bad and scary things,
And the physical.
which is really bad for everybody.
Right.
That's like really bad for everybody.
Right.
Instead of thinking and saying, oh, how was being with your horse today? Oh my gosh, found a raspberry patch.
Yes.
Or, whatever.
Magical, amazing. I'm so happy I'm here. Like,
oh yeah, he loved the field we were in today.
yeah.
Interesting. And we do this with ourselves as well. When we are not living in alignment, we focus on how we physically don't feel well, or,
The bad stuff.
like say when we're not living in alignment. When things aren't well, we just focus on the bad. We don't think like, oh yeah, I've had a really great day today. This is why. Huh. Very interesting. I had no idea horse people did that.
It's big in the culture. It's one of the things that I really want to try to change and try to empower everyone to.
We have some horse people in my group, by the way, that are going to be watching this. So I bet that all of a sudden you're going to turn on some like, oh my God, wait, do I do that? Yeah.
It's all about just listening in and how you approach from the very beginning. How does your horse look today in the stall? And I always like to say, ask for a little bit of permission. Instead of just going, most people will just go in the stall, open the door, and take the horse out. Like, they've got a plan. But if I showed up at your house, Rachel, and I was just like, I opened the door and I just grabbed your hand and we just walked out, you'd be like, wait, where are we going? You didn't like call me. Like, what's happening? I would like to know the plan. And almost every horse I talk to says, I just want to be included. I just want to know what the plan is so I can help you.
Right.
Can you just maybe ask for permission and say, could I come in today? Could I come say hi to you? And then they'll usually be like, yes, you can.
Yeah.
And then now you have an open dialogue, and we're so much better off than we were 3 seconds ago, instead of me just opening the door and going about my business. And now let's just go have some fun. And hey, I say, you know what? We're going to have fun today. I'm going to put some cones out. We're going to just go have a good time. And they're like, all right, cool.
Yeah. Instead of like, you're going here, we're doing this, you're doing that. And then people are like, how are they? Their leg hurt. They were tight here. They're over here. It's like, that's really, you've turned them into a machine accidentally, but you haven't really thought of them as a person. And, and I think too, with the healing process, like just in general, people call us, both of us, when their animals are sick. And it's really important to also know how the animal is feeling emotionally.
It's really funny that you bring that up, because there's something called, I'm sure you're familiar with tapping for people, EFT tapping, right?
Yeah. So for anybody who's not, do you want to explain what EFT tapping is?
You can. I mean, I'm not.
So tapping, I will tell you, I actually was a serious skeptic around this.
So was I.
I thought it was like woo-woo. And then I watched a webinar where these scientists explained that it's actually one of the most effective ways to help PTSD. And they were doing it in closed case studies with people who've been in the military. So you tap on different acupressure points on your body, on your face, and on your hands, on your head, while you're saying something that would trigger PTSD or make you feel really uncomfortable, or trigger that fight or flight response. And what happens is that while you're tapping, you're saying what triggers that response. And so your words are wanting to send you into fight or flight, but the acupressure points are rewiring your brain. So you don't forget what happened to you. It's not like you just magically forget that maybe you were trapped in a building that was burning down, but it no longer triggers the PTSD response to it.
Right.
So that's tapping, and you can do it on humans, and then there's for animals as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I've done it myself, and I thought the same thing you did. And I'm pretty, pretty open. I mean, a lot of stuff that people think is woo-woo, we think is normal, right?
Right.
But I tried it for my own anxiety around my horse, or stress or fear, and it really helped me a lot. But it also works on horses. Tapping for horses, you can actually see. It's fascinating. You can see the energy go out of them, and you start at the shoulder, and then it'll actually go towards the flanks or towards the neck, and the energy moves, and actually the horse gets almost like they're drunk, like they had a few drinks and we went out drinking. I mean, their eyes get really big and they're like this. It's
Yeah.
so funny.
That's why when people are like, I don't believe in energy work, I actually always say, well, then come watch me work with the horse.
Totally.
Because other animals, you're like, oh, they're going to yawn. A cat's going to sleep and then purr. And it's like, well, cats always sleep, but with horse, they start doing stuff that they don't normally do.
They don't normally do. And
Yeah.
they get
They don't
so
normally
relaxed.
act like they're drunk.
No. And the head goes down, like when they're, sedated lightly the relax. So it's a tool in your toolbox. I've started using it for him. It's amazing. Mm-hmm. But what I wanted to say was, the reason I brought it up is because it's all connected to their emotions. So you can take a horse that's having an off day, and maybe they're tense, maybe something scared them, maybe they're, in a moment of fear, mm-hmm. and bring that out of them.
Totally.
Through tapping. The mind and the heart and the body, they're all connected, but the heart by far, I think, is the best and easiest way to access animals, mm-hmm. because they're not thinking like we're thinking through this. They're not thinking step 1, step 2, step 3. For them, it's just unconscious and instinctual, right? Because that's the way they operate, which is a great opportunity for us, because we don't have to say, okay, this is how you tap. You don't have to go through it and say all that, but they will emotionally and with their heart just open up for you. Right. It's amazing.
Yeah. And muscles are tight typically because we emotionally don't feel well. We're dealing with stress. We're dealing with something. That's true for humans. And of course, that's true for other animals on this planet as well.
Yep. And then everything just tightens up like this until you want to just protect yourself. And now you've clammed up so much, and you've clammed up your heart too, because and now we have to really relax you so that you can open up, because that's a little bit of a process. But the heart is fascinating. The heart, I'm finding, and I'm glad, because I'm much more of a heart person than a thinker, obviously. And that's what a lot of healers are. But I want all your listeners to know that they have the capacity to also do this type of work, right? It's just a matter of tapping into it.
You might not be able to answer this. I don't know. But how would you know if let's say someone's listening and they're like, I don't know if I'm a heart person or if I'm a head person. Are there, things that would point that out to them?
You would know.
Somebody who acts with their heart versus somebody who acts with their head?
Yes. Yes. And depending on what you listen to more. So let's just say you're in a job interview, and the job interview is going great. Everything's great on the outside. And your mind's like, this is awesome. I'm going to get paid a lot of money. It's a lot of, it's a great opportunity. And inside your heart says, this is not a good fit for you. This is not going to work, but go ahead and try.
That's your heart brain.
That's your heart going, and your intuition going, wait. And every time I have ignored that, I have gotten in trouble. So if you listen to your brain more, which a lot of people do, and they can still find success, you're just more of that person. Most healers, I would say 100%, have to listen to their heart, because that's what we do. But the intuition is connected to your heart and your higher self, because it's never going to point you in the wrong direction. It's there to help you, to guide you.
Yes. Oh my God, that makes me want to cry. Hearing you say that it's like, it's going to lead you in the right place. And I love that you brought up the example of like going to a job interview and maybe the job sounds perfect on paper. It's everything you wanted, but your heart is telling you not to do that. A lot of my clients ask me all the time, like, why are animals super telepathic, but humans aren't? Humans are the only animal. And, for people who don't know, humans are animals. We're just another animal on this planet. Humans are the only animal on this planet who will logically talk themselves into fear, into a scary situation. If you come up to a field and it looks, or maybe you're walking down the street at night and it's dark and all of a sudden you're afraid and you're like, I shouldn't keep going. Your brain is like, Rachel, you only think that because you just watched the Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Yes.
It's you're just da-da-da-da-da-da. You're fine.
Crazy. You need to calm down. Stop it.
Yeah. Oh, Rachel, you just da-da-da. Whereas a horse, if they're like, that's scary, I'm not going, guess what? They're not going.
They're out.
You can't make them do it. They're not going to do it. My sister has a Great Dane. I love telling this story because it's perfect. So we were walking her dogs and there was a bridge. And then we get to the part where we need to cross the bridge and will take us to the car. Her dog refused. And this is a Great Dane. So, practically the size of a horse. And her Great Dane's like, no, I'm not crossing that bridge. And we're like, come on, Olive, come on. And if she didn't cross the bridge, that meant we had to walk like a mile out of the way. I mean, it was like cross the bridge and get to the car or walk a mile back to the car. So we're like trying to force her and she just refused to cross the bridge. Well, we go back there a couple of days later and the bridge had collapsed. It was under construction. It had been roped off. So she knew. Like, that bridge is not safe.
Yeah,
I'm not crossing it.
Yeah.
And I always think about that because animals, unless you have a Chihuahua that you can pick up, they're not going to do it if they're afraid. You can't, unless you have to force them, but they would never willingly walk into danger in the way that we would. And, it's like, we'll get the prickle up on the back of our neck, or we'll feel our hair moving. We'll feel the goosebumps. We'll feel everything. And we're like, no, ignore this. I'm getting all of the signs, but I'm going to totally ignore this. And animals don't do that.
Well, I'm almost out of time, or I really can't go around the long way, and you're just crazy, and all these, we talk ourselves out of what is really trying, our intuition trying.
Yes, this is the job that's going to bring me happiness because it's giving me the money amount in the neighborhood I wanted. It's offering me the money I wanted. My commute will be better and I get a really good 401k. But your heart is like, your soul is going to be crushed.
Yeah.
And your head's like, yeah, well, that's impossible though, because I'm going to get in my checking account a certain amount of money with the 401k. And your heart's like, Rachel, you've done this before. You know that you're going to want to quit within 6 months and then you're going to start all over again. And your head's like, it's going to be different this time.
It's going to be different.
Yeah. And you go back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. It's your head and your heart. And it's, our brain is there and our head is there for a reason. It's to keep us alive.
Right.
But it gets out of control.
Right.
And that's not actually really our place of intuition.
No. It's all from your heart, because you are talking yourself out of this. And I always say this, I love that you said that, because it seems like everything's so good on paper. But if you don't have that feeling that I belong here, this is going to be awesome for me. Because so many times I was that person, right? I mean, I had a job. Everything looked so great. I worked for a senior vice president. I had power, if you will, whatever. I worked for a great person. Everything was great on paper. And every day I went, I felt like I was dying a little more because I wasn't using my gifts. And so your soul is saying, you're going to die. Like you said, you're going to start over. It's going to suck. Here we go again. But you're like, this time's different. I'm going to have so much money. It's going to be awesome. Just listen to your intuition, because remember,
listen to your freaking heart.
Listen to your heart. Even, what's a really big one? If it doesn't sound, if it sounds a little off the wall, that means it's even more on point. It sounds
off the wall, but your heart is calling you to it.
Exactly.
Then you're like, this is crazy. Why would I want this? I want it.
Yes.
So I love this conversation. I love where it's going. I love listen to your heart and what it's making me think about, because we've talked about a few different things. It's whether it's the job, because this whole series that I'm doing is about supporting women. So it's like women holding women. Are you in a job that you hate? You got to follow your heart, whatever it is. But we're also talking about animals. And for some reason, this just made me think of it, and I want to bring it up. So many people come to me who've said, like, my animal is sick. My vet says I need to euthanize, but my heart is telling me it's not right. That's not time yet. My animal is sick, but they can get through it.
Mm-hmm.
I always think people should follow their heart. For the most part, humans are not going to put their animals through a situation that's where the animal's really sick and dying and in a horrible place for themselves.
No.
If the animal isn't like, no, I'm in this with you. I can get through this. I was misdiagnosed. The vet doesn't know. Vet doesn't know. That's wrong. That's a wrong diagnosis.
Yes. Yeah. 100%.
And it's like so many times, so many people come to me and they're like, my vet, I'm working with a client right now. Her vet thinks she should euthanize her cat. And she's like, I don't believe that to be true. And we've been working and we're seeing the cat improve. And I actually see that a lot. And have you experienced that as well? Like working with horses where they're like, we need to put the horse to sleep. And then the human is like, no, I'm not putting this horse to sleep.
I have seen that a lot. And I actually, in terms of like my own dog, I just saw that maybe 6 months ago. I came home, my husband was crying on the front lawn, and my dog's 14, and he's like our child, and he was like, he can't get up. And I looked at him, and yes, he was in distress, but he said, I can do this. Mm-hmm. I can do this. I knew, I just told him it's not time yet. It's not time yet. I've had neighbors down the street. They're like, well, we think we should euthanize, and I said, well, what did she tell you? And they're like, what do you mean? What did she tell me? I'm like, you need to talk to your pet. You need to figure this out, or try to, or find somebody who can talk, because your pet's not ready yet. I saw it with my own horse when the doctor came and said, this was not this horse, the horse prior. He had a lot of physical problems because when I got him, he was a rescue and he hadn't been taken care of. Mm-hmm. And he said, the doctor came and he needed a year off. Now imagine, I just purchased this horse and he needed a year off because of he had so many injuries. And I was like, fine, not a problem. I keep my animals until they can't go on anymore. I don't get rid of them. They're not cars to me. And I remember looking at him, but I was kind of crushed. I mean, it was hard. And they said he may never show again. And I was like, don't worry about showing, can I just maybe ride a little? And they're like, well, we'll see. And literally they were taking, blood and all this stuff. And he looked at me and said, I can do this. Don't give up on me. Don't give up on me. Please don't give up on me. And I was like, don't worry. You got as much time as you need. They will tell you when they cannot go on anymore. Right. And you have to listen to that heart. Don't listen to, and there are experts out there for reasons, right? We're not knocking veterinarians, but what I'm saying
veterinary is great.
If your animal's telling you, you're the one that has the connection, not the vet. I mean, you see them every day. If they're telling you that they're not ready, they're not ready.
Right. And so for people who are listening are like, yeah, but I'm not an animal communicator and I don't know how to talk to my animals. It's, if that might be, it's trusting your heart. Yeah. And that is working a muscle, because we've been taught our whole lives to not trust our hearts, to be logical, to logically think through something. And so, so when you're in a situation with your animals and all of a sudden your vet's saying they have advanced cancer, we need to euthanize them. And your heart is saying, no, listen to your heart, because, so many people then are like, but am I being selfish? Is my animal really sick? You wouldn't do that to them if they were. No. Like, people wouldn't do that to them. They'd be like, okay, because when they're ready to let go. You can feel it, you can see it. It's that time, but it's the listening to your heart and how powerful that is.
Yes, absolutely. But just even if you're not a communicator, you still know your animal. Right. And you're with them all the time, and they're going to communicate to you, I'm not ready, or I can get through this, or It's
You'll
not
feel it.
time
You'll
yet.
just
Trust,
know it.
trust me, you will know
It's kind of tapping into the intuition.
yeah. And when they say they're ready, you'll know. Because trust me, it comes across very strongly like, I can't go on.
Totally.
But until you have that in stone, listen to your heart that's saying, wait, it's not time yet. It's
It's
not
not
time
time
yet.
yet. Yeah, you know, this is funny. I have never told this story before because it was told to me a long time ago. So I haven't thought about it in a long time ago. I haven't thought about it in a long time, but my grandpa, so my dad's 87. And so my grandpa was alive, you know, during, you know, around the turn of the century. And he had horses and a farm, and there was a tornado that came through and knocked down the barn and killed two of his horses and like severely paralyzed the third. I cannot remember her name. I'm going to see if I can get my dad to remember this third horse's name. But she was his like best friend, pal. And when they found her, like you know, because of the tornado, like the hay had fallen down, the barn had fallen down on her, collapsed on all of the horses. You know, they were trapped, they couldn't get out. And he was like digging through the hay to get her, and she was still alive. And so the vet came out, you know, this is like, I don't know, 1910, 1915. I mean, it's like a long time ago. The vet was like, we have to euthanize her. We have to. And he refused. He was like, I am not going to euthanize my friend. I'm not going to euthanize her. And the vet was like, well, she will never work again. And he's like, that's not the point. That's not the point. This is not about turning her into a workhorse. This is, I cannot turn my back on her now. And he nursed her back to health, and she ended up walking again. And then that was his friend. And he just kept with her
Wow.
and took care of her and let her just live a happy life. And I remember when my dad told me this, I was so shocked because, you know, horses in the 1900s were workhorses. They were plow horses.
Right.
And it was a different culture then, especially in the middle of nowhere, Minnesota, with really poor immigrants. He was, you know, had immigrated from Sweden. And so and it's funny, I work with horses, but not at the level you do. My whole family in Sweden actually took care of and kept the horses for the royalty there. That
Wow.
was the lineage in
Oh, that's so cool.
so that's probably another connection between us. We
Wow.
were both there in a past life together. You were
That's
the royalty and
cool.
I was your servant. Taking care
We'll,
of your horse.
we're
Yeah.
still be out, both of us in the barn, so it's okay.
Yeah, you know, I want to share with everybody. Actually, Julie has an awesome history story with one of her ancestors. Will you share it? Because it actually really fits. I mean, we're animal people. They're all animal people, and this is really interesting.
Sure. So everyone's probably familiar with the Salem witch trials.
Yes.
And it was pandemonium and craziness, and a couple of girls just started throwing out random information about people that wasn't true. And so one of my ancestors was killed in the Salem witch trials, a man, not a woman, but he was the first one, according to records, that stood up and said, this is not true. I didn't do this. I'm not crazy. And he was killed for talking to a black cat.
Yep.
So all these years later, I have a black cat named Spunky, who I rescued. He was thrown out when he was maybe 2 days old by a family that just thought that black cats are evil, right?
Right.
And
A lot of people think that.
in this day and age, and it's so crazy. It's like,
I think it's racist. I think it goes back to racism.
it's really ridiculous. And anyway, he was left for dead, and I found him, and I said, okay, I just have to have this cat. This cat has been my guardian. He's 20 years old, and he's been my guardian ever since. So it doesn't matter that he's arthritic and everything, because I still look at him and I see like a lion. Like I see his heart is so big. But it's just interesting that this part of us, you know, our backgrounds do kind of always stay with us, because we're, you know, hopefully now we're smarter and we wouldn't do that again, but it's still scary. But yep, that's Salem witch trials. But it was a man, but it affected the Samuel Wardwell.
Wardwell. Yeah. I remember
Wardwell.
looking him up and being like, oh my God, this actually really happened. And, and the
Yeah,
thing is, the reason why I wanted to mention it is because rarely do we meet somebody who's like, yeah, a family member of mine was killed in the Salem witch trials. Oh, for talking to a black cat, which, so you and I would both have been killed for having this conversation right now,
of
100 years
course.
ago.
Of course.
And, the group of women that I have in my family membership and just the people who come into my world that are in my bubble, like that, none of that would exist. Your world wouldn't exist. What you do, your work wouldn't exist. And and it's like we all know somebody with a black cat. I rescued a black cat as well, and she was totally a witch's cat. I wanted to keep her, but Sugar Pants was going to kill her. She would like
Oh.
sleep up in my black hair, and
Oh,
she was just amazing. I found her a really good family for her.
good.
But being killed because you connected and spoke to another animal on this planet, that your ancestor was killed for that, and yet now this is your work in the world, is speaking to these animals and having this heart space to do it.
Yay. Maybe he was
Yeah.
just trying to help that cat. But see, people are afraid of things that they don't understand. And thank God today we are trying to be more inclusive and but it's so cool that it's now the opposite end of the spectrum, right? So we get to help and do things out in the open that, yeah, they would have killed us for having this conversation a long time ago, Rachel.
Right.
We would have been like
Maybe
crazy.
that's why people think animal communicators are so crazy and woo-woo. Maybe it goes back to fear of the Salem witch trials.
Maybe it does.
And all of the fear around witches. And it's like, no, we should all be talking to other animals and to our own hearts and to our desires, which is also really goes against
Everything
some,
we're taught.
yeah, it does. And that
We
goes
should
back
start a school for this. We should start a school for everything the opposite. Listen to your heart. And
yeah, it goes against a lot of Christianity to listen to your heart, because you should be listening to God. And I don't want to, anybody who's listening who's like, but I believe in God. I do too. I believe in universal energy, but and I'm not saying anything bad about it, but that definitely, has been a part of it, is that it is not about your desires.
right,
It's about
right,
how you serve.
right, right. And
But
I
how
believe
can
in
you
God.
serve if you're not tapped into your heart?
You can't.
You can't. And
You
that is why there are so many wars.
can't. You can't. And I believe in God. I'll tell you what I think. I think that God doesn't make mistakes and he gives us all our gifts. So if this is a gift that you have, then how can you not use it to help others?
Yeah.
That's kind of just keep it simple, right? I mean, we don't talk about God and politics and all that stuff, but just listen to your heart. I guess that's the main theme, because it's there to help you and it will never, ever steer you wrong. I guarantee you that. 100,000%. Never.
Right. Right.
Never.
So I think we're coming up where we should be wrapping up, but
Yeah,
what you and I have laughed about is that we could talk for hours and we lose track of time.
we do.
Same thing. Someone was like, oh my God, has it been an hour?
I know,
But
it's
I
so crazy.
wanted to ask you, um, what is it that you think that we could all learn from horses?
Oh my gosh, there's so much. You can learn patience
Mm,
with not just yourself, your others, but yourself. Horses have a huge capacity for forgiveness. There's been so many horses that have been abused or been sent to the bad place, and they've been saved, and then they help kids with MS
mm,
or cerebral palsy or soldiers with PTSD. They have no reason to help us humans at all,
right.
but they forgive. So I
Mhm.
think forgiveness and patience and just being gentle with yourself and realizing that we're all connected.
Yeah.
That's the most important thing. Forgiveness is everything, really. It starts with forgiveness.
And that's also taps into your heart.
Yeah, and forgiving yourself. We all have tough days, guys. I mean, it's not always rainbows and sunshine every day, Rachel. I mean, we have good days and bad days. We're humans, but forgive yourself for the tough times and just keep moving forward. But horses are so forgiving and loving. That's the best thing about them.
Yeah. 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 Horses are really, yeah, I love all animals. But I always feel really honored to work with horses whenever it
Sharing
comes up.
space, sharing spaces
Sharing
with horses is
space.
an honor every time. It doesn't matter how long I work with them. It's an honor. It's an honor that we are allowed to be with these sentient beings because they don't need us
No,
at all.
no.
We
Yeah.
need them more than they need us. They don't need us at all.
They're really, they are just really beautiful. Have you ever seen any wild horses? Have you ever had
I
that opportunity?
haven't. I haven't. I spoke to Carol Walker. She's a photographer. She goes out west a lot, and she's big on saving horses. And I had her on my show. I have her books. She signed my book. I've met her a couple times. I love her. And she has like photography, sessions where they go out. I'd love to see that someday.
Oh
Have you
yeah.
ever
Yeah.
seen them?
Yeah, I saw them in South Dakota. Um, 2 summers ago, we were in a state park and Theodore Roosevelt State Park, and there's wild bison there and horses. And
Oh my
we
gosh,
were
how was
walking.
that?
It was amazing. And we were walking, and all of a sudden I was like, oh my gosh, there's a herd of wild horses. And I just happened to take a picture like as one was standing up and his like mane was flying back. And I was like, I just took the most amazing professional looking photo ever of a wild horse. Try and find it and send it to you.
That was just for you, Rachel.
Yeah,
Nothing happens by accident.
yeah, it really was super amazing. And yeah, and they're so special. And so I love that you work with them. And you had mentioned that you interviewed somebody on your radio show, but we didn't actually mention it in your bio. Everybody, Julie has a radio show. Want to tell us about it for a second?
Now, Rachel's on the radio show, you guys, so you guys have to
Yeah,
listen to it.
I was
So,
honored to be a guest on that radio show. Yes.
so excited. Her show's going to be coming up in August. So I have a radio show. It goes to 148 countries, and it's for equestrians, and we talk animals. But I also have motivational people, and I have wonderful, beautiful people like Rachel on who talk about what they do. And it's on the SOB. That's not what you think it is. It's Spunky Old Broad. A woman named Dr. Gail Carson owns it, and she called it that because she's, I think, in her 70s. She's amazing.
Yeah.
But it's Motivation Addict, and I can send links out so you guys can have that. But Motivation Addict is the name of my company, and you can find me on the web, but also the radio show. And Rachel is just on, and I'm honored to have her. And it's fun, it's interesting. And if any of you equestrians out there, you should listen to the one that just went up. It's called Full Bucket, and Full Bucket nutritional supplements. It just went up a couple of days ago. I put the link up. And what they do is they go to places like Guatemala, and in these areas, horses are beasts of burden. They're not like show pretty horses like we have.
Right.
These are little donkeys and horses that have a lot of problems because they're used for, carrying food, and it's pretty rough. It's pretty rough, and it's a lot of the people don't have education, so
Right.
they basically go there for free, and they help them. They give them veterinary care, and then they have dentists, and then they give education as well. And for every time that you buy a full bucket of their nutritional supplements, they donate a bucket as well to somebody in these countries. So it's so awesome. So that's up there. If you guys want to hear it, I can send Rachel the link. But
Yeah. We'll
it's
put links
amazing.
to your show, your radio show, your website, because you're
Yeah.
also on LinkedIn. Are you on Instagram?
LinkedIn, Instagram, and
Yeah.
YouTube. Yep.
So we'll put links up to everything so people know how to find you. And go to if they want some horse communication.
Yes.
And
Rachel was nice enough to let me talk to her cat Sugar Pants the other day, which was really fun. So thank you for that.
yeah, she got to talk to Sugar Pants. Nailed it.
It was pretty amazing, by the way. She's pretty hot stuff.
Oh
that
yeah,
one.
you should see her. She's laying right now, like
She's like
she's got her legs up all over everything, and
Sugar Pants. I love that name.
yeah, the Sugar Pants. And so, well, this has been so much fun, and it's just such a good reminder. It's just such a good reminder to act with your heart. I know that, but and you know that, but I think we just need to hear it over and over and over and over again. Like, we have to retrain our subconscious mind. Like, because we're told so much, don't listen to your heart, don't listen to your heart, don't listen to your heart. You have to become the voice that's like, no, listen to your heart, listen to your heart, listen to your heart, listen to your heart,
Yeah,
And
exactly.
yeah. And it's going to definitely inspire how I spend the rest of this day and weekend. So
It'll never steer you wrong. Listen to your heart.
never does steer you wrong.
Never.
Ever.
Ever. It's there to
Never.
protect you.
It is. You need to make a t-shirt though out of the quote from earlier. You're like, I don't remember what I said. The good thing is this is recorded.
Think about wisdom. You have to send it to me now because I didn't write it down. I usually write stuff down, but I didn't write it down.
You have to write it down, otherwise you don't ever remember. Anyway, Julie, I absolutely love you. I'm so glad you came here to talk to my ladies, and I'll put all your information in the links.
Thank you for having me.
Yep, I will talk to you later.
Okay.
Bye.